I first saw Pastor Tega during a rainy Sunday service. He wasn't our regular preacher. Our old pastor had passed after a long illness, and the church was still wearing black. I remember sitting in the second pew, wearing my late mother's wrapper as a scarf, thinking about how hollow the sermons had become lately. Then he walked in, tall, skin like mahogany after harmattan. His eyes didn't dart nervously like other men. They landed, firm, unshaking, like they were born knowing the truth. "Good morning, beloved," he began, his voice a deep tremble that moved something in my chest. I came not with enticing words, but with power, and that power, I felt it in my bones. He spoke in parables, in riddles that tugged at my wounds. He talked about lust, about waiting for God's answer in silence, about lonely hearts dressed in Sunday best, hiding their scarves behind offering baskets. I knew then that he saw me. Weeks turned into months. I found myself volunteering more, cleaning the altar, helping with the youth group, staying late for prayer meetings. Every time he called my name, Sister Chidima, it was like a benediction and a wound at once. I wasn't the only woman drawn to him. Even the married ones wore tighter blouses on Sundays. But I told myself what I felt was spiritual, righteous, safe, until it wasn't. It happened one harmattan evening under the orange twilight of the village sky. We had just finished fasting and prayers. I lingered behind to help him with his notes. "You are always here," he said, not looking at me. "I find peace here," I whispered. He looked up, and in that long pause between our eyes meeting and his next breath, something shifted. "You are young, Chidima," he said. "You don't know what your presence does." "I know what mine does, but what does yours do to me?" I asked. The air cracked. He stood up, moved closer, then stopped, like a man who wanted to jump but feared the ocean. "I am a married man," he whispered, more to himself than to me. "And I am a woman who didn't plan for this." There was no kiss, no touch, just silence. A thunderous, aching silence. But from that day, we were no longer pastor and church girl. We were two souls, tiptoeing around a fire we couldn't name. It was during a revival in Enugu, 3 months later, that we fell. He had invited me as one of the youth coordinators. We stayed in different rooms, of course, but the Holy Spirit has never had to contend with the heat of lonely humans under one roof. That night, after a long service, where he had laid hands on dozens, he knocked on my door. I shouldn't have opened it, but I did. And when he saw the tears already streaming down my cheeks, he knew. I prayed it would pass. He said, I prayed too, I answered. The moment his lips touched mine, the heavens didn't shake, they turned away. The guilt was a second skin. I stopped eating, stopped praying. My spirit dried like the cracked red soil behind my grandmother's house. He told me it had to end, that he loved his wife, that he couldn't live with himself if he continued. I said nothing, only nodded. Days turned into silence. Sundays felt like funerals. I watched him from the pew, preaching about repentance, about David and Bathsheba, about grace. He never looked my way again, but my womb remembered. When the third strip showed 2 lines, I laughed. It was a dry, hollow laugh. I had lost everything: my faith, my body, my pride. And now I was about to lose the only home I had left. I told no one. I left. I moved to Aba, find work in a tailoring shop, and gave birth in silence, a girl. I named her Ezinne, good mother. I wanted her to grow without shame, without the shadow of a man who could heal the blind but couldn't face his sin. For 3 years, I said nothing. Then one night, I saw his sermon trending online, preaching against abortion, preaching about keeping one's body holy, and something inside me broke. I wrote him a letter, not to ruin him, just to tell him the truth. He never replied, but a month later, a woman showed up at my shop. She was beautiful. Rega, I am his wife, she said calmly. I froze. She took out a photo of Ezinne. She looked just like him, she added. Then she said something I will never forget. I hated you until I read the letter. Tears filled her eyes. I'm not here for an apology. I come to say, God doesn't throw us away, not even the broken ones. We stood in silence, 2 women, wounded by the same man, healed by the same truth. Today, I no longer attend church in buildings. I meet God in my child laughter. In this softness, I'm still learning to give myself. Pastor Tega still preaches. Perhaps he has repented, perhaps not. As for me, I am not proud of what happened, but I'm not ashamed either, because love, real love, is not just about desire. Sometimes it is the mirror that forces you to face the parts of yourself you would rather hide. And in loving him, I found the truth of who I really was. Not just a church girl, but a woman, flawed, forgiving, and finally free.
Yes, indeed. As a young woman, you need to be completely free, which is one of the reasons I came to see you, Madam Tega said. Sister Chidima, Pastor Tega must have offended you gravely. And just like I outrightly said earlier, I am not here to apologize. Rather, I am here to relieve you of untimely and unnecessary burden. I am happy that, unlike the tortoise, who was advised thousands of years ago, but choose to be adamant and be carrying load on his back forever, reason he cannot run or move fast today. You actually announced your own freedom from an undeserved burden, Sister Chidema. You have taught it right. As I said, Pastor Tega really offended you, but not without some remorse or regret. He actually confessed to me and the church, and he was rebuked by the church elders, who in return pleaded with I and my family. Having forgiven him, a proof of my forgiveness is one of the reasons I am here, so that Ezinne can grow with her other siblings and in her home, because I know that's what is best for her. I am here to take her home so she can be happier and have the best life she actually deserves. All the while Madam Tega have been talking, I kept mute, but deep down in me, I resolved she's asking for the impossible. What could be her reason for her coming and not Pastor Tega? Impulsively, I responded rather sharply, I don't think that will be possible. Yes, I know, and I'm equally expecting that same answer, Miss Tega said. But my sister, she continued, I don't mean immediately, but to prepare your mind. I and Pastor Tega will be coming, and I pray that before then, you will prepare my baby to go meet our other siblings. They are already waiting and expecting to meet their lovely sister, she said. I heaved a sigh of relief, so I said okay. Immediately, Madam Tega left, not only prompted by curiosity, but to at least safeguard the life of my loving Ezinne. Anxiety took a hold of me. I was forced to start searching for the number of a lady I knew was very close to the Tega family. Calling her, it was as if she had been waiting or expecting my calls. After long pleasantries, I wisely asked about Pastor Tega's family. Without much probing, she told me all I needed to know about Madam Tega. I got to know Madam Tega had 2 sons, but she so desired to have a baby girl, which never came and may never come, due to some complications she had about 2 years ago, when she was carrying her 3rd pregnancy. The baby was never delivered due to reasons only God knows why. I also learned she's obsessed with baby girls, and that was exactly what eluded her in life. I now know the reason she really took it upon herself, wanting to take my Ezinne from me, with the intention of fully resisting them from taking away my joy, my source of laughter, my good mother. I share my feelings with the only guardian I had in Aba, who happens to be my boss at the Sewing Institute, Mrs. Uche. She said to me, Chidema, can I be honest with you? I answered yes. She went further to say, with all you have told me and what I've seen and know about you, I will advise you release Ezinne for them. For some good reasons, I will tell you. 1. They seem to have good intentions. 2. The pastor is her father after all. 3. He is more financially stable than you presently are. And 4. I know your plan to marry Jeff soonest. Moreover, you can go to see her at any time you so desire. Listening to my only and supportive confidant, my heart softened the more. She also added, for your peace sake, when you eventually get married to Jeff, a word they say is enough for the wise. I therefore prepare Ezinne to join her father and the family. Despite the rain, Pastor Tega and family came on same day we had agreed. I mean, Pastor Tega, his wife, his mother, and only junior brother. They all, out of joy, defiled the thundering sound and the weighty torrent of the sky waters, alighted from the vehicle, running into the house of my loving boss, Mrs. Uche. We all gathered to see Ezinne live with our family. It was a feeling one we call sweet and sour. I tried as much as possible not to remember the bitter side of the old journey. But amidst the joyful situation, that odd feeling kept creeping in. Pastor Tega begged me amidst tears. The mother, the junior brother, and all the people around. Madam Tega was busy with Ezinne, as if the time they spend is much more than she can spare to be with Ezinne in their home. It all ended in joy, but leaving a big vacuum in my world. She's gone. Yes, my Ezinne, my sweet companion at night when we are alone, my only gist partner, who seemed wiser than her age. I feel so much at peace, despite missing Ezinne. One picture that refused to leave my memory is Pastor Tega's mother. The extreme resemblance of this beautiful woman with Ezinne. She looks so much like the woman. The face, the dent, the way she walks. If I hadn't been the biological mother of Ezinne, nothing would have convinced me Ezinne is not her biological child. This picture that dominates my memory gives me so much joy to know that Ezinne is in safe hands indeed. Morals of the story. Forgiveness is the hardest thing to do in full, but it is the greatest medicine for wellness, an antidote for failure, sadness, and insanity. For young women like Chidima, it is good for a young woman to watch and find a very good elderly woman who will give her good guidance and counseling as to know what man is best to choose as a life partner. Because falling in love is not the game of blind people as we are made to believe. And to men like Pastor Tega, being able to stay focused is key. A man that cannot control his desires is not much different from a mole that has no understanding. Therefore, young men should learn from elderly men of good reputation and integrity. Choose such men as your mentor, and they will teach and encourage you on how to channel your libido to something more profitable and of good repute.